bring up Facebook here on the side so we can see. Do we have to monitor YouTube separately?
So it should all come in this.
In my experience with other people, I've seen like YouTube comments wig out sometimes. So it might be worth just bringing it up just in case.
Yeah, I've got it in the background there.
How can we? Where does it show like join people or stuff like that?
Sorry.
Can we actually see who's joining on here? Hello, if you're here. Hello. Simon, can we, you know how on Facebook Live you can actually see who's coming into the stream so we can say hi to people? Is that a thing we can do?
Well, I have the Facebook.
I'll just bring it up separately.
Chat going on here, yeah. We got 6 viewers on Facebook. Woohoo! Hello, everybody.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Sorry, we're just making sure we can see everyone and work out what's going on. Maybe if I just bring the stream up here, I should be able to see. Chat's going on here, yeah. We got 6 viewers on Facebook. Woohoo! Cool. Hey, everyone. Jump.
Hey, Michael. Good to see you.
Oh, there's a weird loopback going on.
Yeah, that's because you've got your stream running. You've got the stream running.
That is because I have my stream running. I'm so sorry, everyone.
Yeah,
cool. Hey, everyone. Hey, Michael. Yeah, drop a comment if you're joining in. We're running through, like a streaming platform so we can go live onto YouTube as well. So hopefully everything's working all right. If it's not, please let us know.
Yeah, Sam, it does show the viewers up in the top left there on our thing. So that's good.
Great. How's everyone doing?
They're all too scared to say. They're all just sweating, waiting for a Bridge6 to arrive on their doorstep.
Sweaty, that's true. Yeah, I can't see the individual people who are on here. Maybe it's because I'm in the compressed view, but that's fine.
Excellent.
Cool. So we'll, it's a bit of an oddball time for people. I know it's like midday, or 11 o'clock in the morning here in Australia. Hey, Steve. How you doing, mate? Good. It's good on YouTube. Great. Cool. It's like 8 o'clock at night in America, but America has like a million time zones, so I have no idea what's going on. And it's the middle of the night for some parts of Europe. So sorry about that. We're trying to do the best we can. But here we are. So yeah. Welcome to Fireside Chat number 1, coined by Alec. He loves giving things some oddball names. So yeah, here we go. I'm like a little bit jittery on Facebook. Is that coming in on your side, Simon, or is that me just viewing of the stream?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's just the stream. I'm not sure. Okay. Anyway, all good. Eric, how you going, Eric?
Hey, Eric. What's up? Not much. Just doing the stream. We're really excited for this. I've been looking forward to it all week. So the idea was we wanted to just kind of connect with you, with our community, with all of you guys who are, eagerly awaiting you at your Bridge6 or Bridge4 or what have you, and wanted to use this time to kind of just answer some questions, touch base, chat a bit about some of the challenges that we've had to kind of overcome in this manufacturing process. We put out some Kickstarter updates and things like that, but it's definitely not as nice and personal as just being able to chat to someone. So yeah, we want to do that. We're going to show some of the new stuff that we're working on, some kind of upcoming products and stuff like that. And then I want to show you guys, give you guys a hands-on look at, I've got a Bridge4 and Bridge6 here on the dev boards, and kind of just run through some functionality and show you guys some cool features and things like that. We made some changes to the UI especially. So, hey, James, how you doing, mate?
G'day, James. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So yeah, the beauty of everyone working from home is people could just like pull up a live stream during the
Yeah.
Great. Cool. So welcome. Pull up cuppa, coffee, whatever your choice is, something stronger perhaps, depending on your time of day. And yeah, do you guys have any questions sort of first up? Hey, Ryan, How you doing, mate? Good day to you, sir. We'll wait first to sort of roll through. Is there anything you want to mention, Simon, before we kick off?
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty keen to show off what we've been working on the last week or so. We've been testing the firmware out pretty extensively, finding all the little bugs, and that's been really rewarding and fun, and adding in little things as we think of them. And yeah, it's pretty exciting to be able to show everyone.
Yeah, sure. If you're wondering too, there's a second screen that's just on my PC, where I can show off some of our like 3D models and renders to show some stuff that we've been working on and whatnot. So there's no sort of ghost third person there, but yeah. All right, so first up, manufacturing. That was kind of something we wanted to talk about. I've got a couple of things I'll sort of, maybe chat about on the technical side, but there's a bunch of other stuff that's just been brutal. Do you maybe want to just share a bit about that, anything in particular?
Yeah, well, for people who aren't in Australia, in the last couple of months, cases of COVID have gone up massively in our two major cities, Melbourne and Sydney, mainly Sydney. And basically as soon as that happens, the government locks down certain local government areas. And because it's gotten so out of hand, they've pretty much locked down the whole state of New South Wales. And the more that the lockdowns spread out, the more that things slow down, particularly international parcels coming in, customs clearance, and just postage in general. So there were a few pieces that we were really hoping to get a few weeks earlier than we did, and that pushed our circuit board finalization out, unfortunately. So that's why the very last piece, it's the last hurdle, really. So we've fallen at the last hurdle, which is kind of sucks. But that
not fallen. It's a graceful stumble with a
we'll get and we will be getting back up. We haven't broken our legs or anything. We'll be getting back up.
It's more of a cramp, really. Like cramping.
Yeah. So we've ordered the circuit boards. They're the last thing. When they arrive, we'll be starting assembly. Everything else is sitting in those massive shelves you can see behind Sam. And yeah, g'day Jeremy in Melbourne. Hope you're doing well. He knows all about lockdowns, this guy.
Yeah, Jeremy, hope you're staying safe, mate. Hope you guys are doing all right down there. Yeah, and the tricky thing is if you're, not familiar, which not a lot of people are, you see an electronic device or even just anything kind of rock up in a parcel at your door and you think, yeah, cool, okay, there's a bunch of stuff in this and sort of is what it is. But manufacturing hardware, there's a saying, hardware is hard. Manufacturing hardware is so difficult at the best of times, let alone one when you're, a new company, you're starting out. And then also sort of a global pandemic, which no one really has a playbook for. It's obnoxiously hard. And so part of the delays, particularly with getting the PCBs, is that we've had to change our bill of materials on the fly. It's more than success. You're not on. Thanks, right. Part of the issue is we've changed our bill of materials on the fly and dynamically and had to work around that, to the point where I'll have a prototype circuit board on my bench that I've just gotten in from our fabrication house. And by the time I've assembled, it's got here with, so DHL, particularly 2-3 day shipping. I get here, I assemble it, I test it out, and then I say, yeah, this is good. I go on to our distributors and check global stock of parts. They're then out of stock of a component that there was 80,000 of, a few days ago when I checked. And so you're trying to navigate all of that. And so we changed our chipset about 6 months ago, which we'd spent 1.5 years on the design working around it. It's the same sort of family of microcontroller, but it just required a few tweaks. And then I wanted to, sort of change some of our firmware structure and architecture around so that if we did have to change the exact chipset again, we could do it in a way that was quite agile and wouldn't require a, sort of major hardware or firmware changes. It would sort of automatically account for that, so that when we're doing future runs, we can get that happening as quickly as possible. So it's a bit of short-term pain for long-term gain. but it's well worthwhile, certainly. Hey Bruno, how you doing, mate? Yeah, what Sydney? It's a tough spot. I feel for you guys have been doing it even tougher than we have in Newcastle. So, how you doing, mate? But yeah, manufacturing electronics, especially at the moment, is like you're building a Jenga tower, except you're doing it whilst like drunk, blindfolded, and colorblind, and it's a rainbow Jenga block tower, and a toddler's just come in and knocked it over. It is probably the most chaotic analogy I can think of to describe it.
That is pretty chaotic.
I don't want to make this whole stream about like, oh, COVID, this pandemic, that. Everyone's exhausted by it, and it's. I want to try and steer clear of that and just chat about where we're at, what's going on. But it's worth just throwing that in there for you guys for some perspective. Tevo, hey guys, Italy is 3:13 a.m. It sure is. Sorry, the time zone kind of sucks. I get that. When we send Bridge6, that's we've detailed that a fair bit in our Kickstarter posts, email, and on Facebook as well. So our manufacturing timeline has been pushed out. We just spent the last 10 minutes talking about that. But the timeline is still, everything should be arriving here end of September. So by the time we go through the assembly, it's going to be that early October like we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. We're in complete lockdown here in New South Wales and will be for the foreseeable future. So Simon isn't able to come up and help me with that. So we're doing the best we can. We're going to have our sort of manufacturing and assembly line right here, but it is what it is. So we're going to be working really hard to get those out as quickly as possible. Just make sure I keep on the chat. Across the ditch, couple of Kiwis. Hey guys, welcome. Yeah. You guys will be even just a bit ahead of us, likely. So yeah, again, don't want to harp on about COVID this, COVID that. Everyone gets it. It's a pandemic. Things are really hard, but we just want to explain to you guys where it can seem just a bit like you get a box and you put some stuff in it and you write some, you write your code and away you go. It's massively complicated.
Yeah.
You're talking about parts where if you choose the wrong part and it goes out of stock, it's a 53-week lead time for parts. They say, we've got some coming in. It'll be here in October 2022. Fantastic. Yeah. So that's the kind of things that you're dealing with when you're manufacturing hardware and in particular electronics devices. So
we very nearly didn't get any of our microcontrollers, right? Even that alternate part you were talking about, that was like a miracle. Like a real life miracle, because they were out of stock, saying that they were coming in like November, December this year, and then some just appeared, like a couple of thousand. So we got to buy some, which was awesome. Yeah. Cool. So that's sort of a bit about manufacturing where we're at. We've got I don't know if you can see here. Show us the shelves, Sam. Show us the shelves.
There's shelves and shelves. There's more boxes out there. There's more boxes over there. There's switches. There's shipping boxes. There's our injection molded parts, the display bracket for light pipes, all our expression doubler stuff's over there. Actually, in fact, I'll give you guys a cool little. This is our.
Sam is a bit of a mad scientist, so he just runs around and grabs stuff.
Well, these are. Our expression doubler PCBs, for example, just a little fun thing. If you're not sure sort of how electronic stuff gets made, you get a PCB, and then you'll have an assembly house that will populate this with components, and they get soldered onto the board, and you put them in an enclosure, and then you end up with something that looks a bit like this with some components on it. And there's a lot of steps, a lot of moving parts, but we're getting there, and everything's just about ready to go. So have to excuse me, it's just coming into spring here, and my hay fever is through the roof at the moment. So
this is about the time. This is almost the time last year when we did our live streams for the Kickstarter campaign, and you had hay fever then as well.
Dude, I was dying. Cool. So do you guys have any questions about like the manufacturing side of stuff? I want to get into just showing off features,
fun stuff,
and cool stuff. Simon's got his board, and we've been testing out different firmware features and tweaking stuff, and bug fixing and doing a bunch of that. And then we'll get on to some of the kind of upcoming things and what you guys have to look forward to. So yeah, Simon, I'll switch this to a bit of a top-down.
Yep, sounds good.
If this is gonna do that. Terribly prepared here. Sorry, this is amateur hour here. I just want to switch. The camera. I want to switch what camera I'm using.
Go to the little settings cog.
Thank you, Simon.
Show us the goods, says Michael.
Hang on. It defaulted to like standard definition for some reason.
Oh, you can't do that, mate.
That's garbage. No, I'm sorry about that, guys. No, it's not playing ball. So instead, and I hope my phone doesn't fall out of its little mount here. It probably will. No, this is terrible. So there's no flip camera in there.
So in the video input, it doesn't say front camera or back camera for the.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Good.
I know what's what.
Hey. Okay.
All right. So, what's going to be the best sort of make sure I get a nice clean angle of this for you guys. So this is our Bridge6. If you're wondering why it looks a little bit weird, it's on sort of a dev platform. Let's tighten that back it up. It's on a dev platform, so you've got like the kind of circuit board exposed. And what that allows me to do is, get in there. I can attach a programming connector, so I can, play with the firmware on the fly and things like that. Which is a little more cumbersome when it's boxed up. And I wouldn't want you guys, wouldn't want to spoil the surprise of the big reveal of the units. But let me throw some power into here. So power this bad boy up. I'm gonna cover that for a second because it's kind of I want to show it off in all its glory. I'm just, before I do anything, because I've been playing around with a bunch of different features here. I'm just going to go through and do a factory reset, which is going to wipe all of the settings and configurations. Those LEDs are obnoxiously bright on the camera. Sorry, it's probably blowing people's eyes.
It looks all right.
Anyway, so can you see the detail on the screen there? Hopefully. Let me know if that's not great. It's okay here, but yeah. So this is part of the new user interface. So as we've been talking about, there's now two different user interface. Sorry about that. Two different user interface modes you can choose from. You've got the extended UI, which is what you see here, which shows a lot more information. You've got these two boxes, 1 and 2, which are for the Flexi ports, so you can see what's going on with those in real time. And then we have a simplified UI. So this is something a lot of people have said, when they're standing up, they don't want to see too much stuff. They just want, their switch names and the bank name, and that's it. So I'll show you guys that because we've been working on that a fair bit lately. The simple UI is very similar to the UI that we started out with. So global, we can go here to interface. You can control the LED brightness from here. So you've got low, medium, and high. Oh. High is very bright. Simple UI. Phone. You can go simple UI. So I'll go back to that. You've got brightness and extended or simple UI. So we've selected simple UI. Hold that to exit. You can see here now it's just a big bank name. It actually looks a lot bigger in person than it does on that camera feed. I'm looking at that now. But it's maximum screen real estate. That OLED screen is shockingly crisp and sharp, so readable.
And I
can read it like almost 10 meters away.
Yeah, and when you have all 16 characters in that bank name, it's quite large.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can, we'll go into the menu. So as we're discussing, the menu is now accessed by holding in these 2 foot switches, not just the top left one, to make it harder to accidentally trigger the menu. And it also frees up all of the functionality of that foot switch there, which is quite nice. So we can go bank name, and we can go through and change this to be. It's actually really hard to think of a cool bank name on the fly. We'll just add in some special characters here, I guess. So you get 16 characters for your bank name. Just gonna max it out in a second. There we go. Anyway, so we'll max out the bank name so you guys can get a feel for that. And it extends across there, so it's still plenty readable if that was actual letters. Plenty readable on there. And we're going to show off some aspects of the configurator, the editor app as well, a little bit later. But for now, I'm just trying to kind of show off the device. A couple of questions. Anyone? Greetings from Costa Rica. Hey, Alamar. For those of you guys who don't know Alamar, I hope he doesn't mind sort of letting you know. He's our app developer. He's been working with us for our device library database and our editor app for the last, at least the last year, last 12 months. He's been great. He's doing a fantastic job, and we're really, really appreciative of all the hard work he's been putting in. You guys are gonna love it. It's really cool. Anyway, I'm gonna bank up. So as nothing's changed really, you've got bank navigation on these 2 foot switches. So I'll sort of just go through and show off some cool functionality. So you've got that bank navigation. It's very similar to like a Strymon 3 switch device. To me, it makes a lot of sense. It's very intuitive. It makes sense. You'll notice with the simple UI, the little arrows that indicate sort of the bank navigation aren't there, and that's so you can make full use of that space down the bottom, but it's pretty easy to remember once you've got the hang of that navigation. So
those switch labels can be customized with 8 characters as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go through. So if we enter into our menu, so the way it's structured is you've got local settings and global settings. That's quite common with devices, but anything in here that isn't in the global settings is actually per bank. So for every bank, you can individually assign LED colors, which can be really nice if you want to use that color, that visual representation. There's been a huge amount of studies done that talk about the difference between a color recognition and a light versus having to read something. That's why cars use a graphical interface for their speedometer and things like that, because it's much quicker for humans to recognize that than having to read something. So that's why we think that color aspect is really important. So for LED 1, we can change the primary side, which is here, which is going to show the toggle state and different things like that, or the secondary, which is used for MIDI clocks, LFOs, all that good stuff. So primary, so it's a few different colors you can cycle through there. We're adding a ton more colors, some support for some custom colors as well. So let's exit out of there. You've got LEDs, you've got the switches themselves. So here is where you can access your message stack. So switch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So there's a lot of stuff we can configure here. We've got the LFO, which we'll get to in a little bit. We've got the messages, which is all of the MIDI message stacks. You've got the switch name, which you can edit. Save that. Switch name. TRS out, so you can assign combinations of the tip, the ring, or the tip plus ring. Combinations of those messages when you have the Flexi ports configured for an external switch out mode. And then, back to the LFO. So we'll go through the messages. So you've got each of these is its own independent message stack, which means you can assign and create MIDI messages in there that happen when these events occur. So you can toggle a switch on when it's in toggle mode, or when you toggle it off. So you've got toggle on, toggle off, press, release, double press, a hold, and then a hold release. So you can combine all of those to create really powerful MIDI triggering and implementation, which is really neat. Really neat. So we can go through and take a look at this. The beauty of this is you can configure all of this from the app and with the device library. We'll go through and show you guys that in a second. But the onboard UI I think is still pretty neat for going these messages. So you can see browse through all the available messages. Let's see, we're on one. There's only one loaded up in here by default, so that's why we can't scroll through. But we could either edit message 1, or we could add a new message, and we're in slot 2 now. So we could make it a program change, channel pressure, pitch bend, delay, so on and so forth. For a control change, we can go through the channel, the number, the value, and then what outputs it's going to be sent to. So this is really powerful because each message can be assigned to individual outputs. So what this means, just because you're creating a message for a toggle on, it doesn't have to go to the same outputs as other messages. So for all intents and purposes, rather than just being limited to 16 MIDI channels to differentiate how you're controlling your devices, these ports are completely independent with all of their routing capabilities. So that's really nice. So you can just turn those on or off as you see fit.
Hey, Sam, I'll just answer this question from Matt. Matt's asked, any idea when the manual might be available?
Yes,
yeah, so I've written most of it. The problem being is that there's a few features that we haven't polished off in terms of how you actually use it with the UI on the device. And so there's just a few things we still need to write. So not exactly sure. On one hand, it doesn't have that much work left to go, but on the other hand, there's some stuff we got to finish as well. So hopefully soon. I know that's a terrible answer.
No, it's mostly UI elements and the little nitty-gritty details. So for example, we're finalizing exactly how much messages could go here or there, or bits and pieces, and how the UI actually works. Because the manual isn't just text; it's sort of animations of the screen and the switches and how, so you can actually virtually get a feel for exactly how you might want to set your device up. So it's quite involved, and most of it's done. Simon's been killing that. He's been doing a really good job. So.
Yeah, and I'll show you some bits of it later as well. That was part of our plan. But yeah, as for release, hopefully I can be getting that finished and out there while Sam is doing the assembly process, because everything should be fairly finished by then. And
the plan is for that to be released before the device is shipped.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Yeah,
have a read and go for it.
Yeah,
but it's not just a Microsoft Word user manual at all. It's really sweet, really sweet. Cool. So yeah, there's some of the message functionality. Alec, are you in the chat? I know he was. I mean, it's very early morning for him, but he barely sleeps anyway. But he was super keen to see the LFO in action. So I'll go through and we're just going to set up some crazy sort of motion-based things on here. So go into the menu here. I'm going to go to global. I'm going to go to global, which is where the MIDI clocks are stored. So if we go into global, we can go to switches. There's two ways you can do this. You can go into the switch and assign it as a tap tempo switch, or you can go to MIDI, set up the MIDI clock, and then assign the switch that way. They both function exactly the same. So again, we'll go foot switch 1, mode. So in here, there's a few. We can go mode. We can go toggle, tap tempo, sequential mode, which is very neat, or momentary. So we'll go to tap tempo, and we're going to set that up with MIDI clock A. Alrighty, so I'll exit out of the menu, and you can see now we've got our MIDI clock A there. It's going to show the tempo in real time. The primary LED reflects the state of the clock, whether it's running or is stopped. Then you've also got the tempo there, so we can try and tap in a consistent tempo, but it's hard doing it while watching the stream. So you've got that flashing. Now when we hold it, it's going to send a stop clock command, but of course the clock is still running there. Then when we hold it back in again, it'll toggle back to running, and we'll send that all seamlessly. So.
That was a bit unsmooth because your camera kind of froze. As a pain.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, so it seemed like all the lights turned off, but
that's not great. I'll try lowering the resolution back again, see if that just drop in resolution helps. So you can hold in to start.
Yeah, that's better.
Sorry about the pixelation, guys, but yeah, starting and stopping the MIDI clock like that. So anyway, I'm going to go back in and set up the second MIDI clock as well. So we'll go switches, and this time I might put it on foot switch 3. So mode, again, tap tempo, MIDI clock A. We can overwrite that and it'll prompt us, but we'll go MIDI clock B. Tap assign, and now these two MIDI clocks that can run completely independently, which is really nice. Now let's go in and set up some LFOs. So I might want to set up some LFOs on these top switches here, perhaps. So we can go switches, switch 1, LFO. So we're going to turn the LFO on to enable it. The sync options, we can set it to sync freely or to sync to either of our configured MIDI clocks. I'll set this one to free for now. And the frequency we might put at, I don't know, sure, 2 hertz. It's going to be toggle. So this plays into the switch mode behavior. So it can either be toggle, and you see it's only available for toggle when the mode is in toggle. And then if the foot switch is set up as momentary, it will give us the momentary option as well. We can assign some limits to compress the range of our LFO. Shape.
The video quality of your camera has gone right down.
It really has, Sam. Hasn't it? I'm so sorry.
Also, we've got a couple of questions here we can talk about while we maybe wait for your internet to recover.
I've just jumped over to the 4Gs. Is that
okay? Well, it's frozen at the moment. We haven't got anything there.
Frozen, has it? It says please wait while they're restoring the connection. So that's less than ideal.
Yeah, there we go. You're back. You're back now.
Is that any better? I'm so sorry about that, guys.
Let's see.
Looks quite framey.
Yeah, it is at the moment. Let's answer some of these questions while we hope the internet gets better. Michael asked, have you sent any units out to alpha or beta testers yet? Or are you still working on that? So I'm one of the beta testers, obviously. And also there's another guy in New South Wales that Sam has given a unit to. And we're just waiting for some circuit boards to be populated when Sam gets a minute to send one to Alec. Are there any others, Sam?
Yeah, so great question. We're sending some, again, just because we've been trying to finalize things like the chipset that we're using and things like that. It sort of held us up a little bit. I'm just trying to sort that camera out there, see if that fixes things. The chipset that we're using, it held us up a bit on that, but the very sort of final versions of our PCBs that I'll hand assemble some here, yeah, we're going to have one going out to a couple of testers. Brett Kingman does some great content. He's an Aussie here as well. He's fantastic. So yeah, stay tuned. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, you'll start seeing some content come out there. Dean, look, mate, I'd love to think that it will help you sing like John Farnham. I'd like to think we're in the business of under-promising and over-delivering, but perhaps we need to over-promise a little more. Absolutely. It will help you sing like John Farnham, if not better. That's
we'll go with
that's
that.
A guarantee that you cannot quote me on.
Okay, here we go. Curious if you can share anything about stress testing you may have done or plan to do for hardware and firmware.
Where's that one? I'm only on Facebook for some reason. Hang on, like the Facebook chat. Anyway, carry on.
That's all right. So any stress testing. So when you are building the firmware, I'm assuming you were testing with large message stacks, all that kind of thing, right? I remember seeing some big long lists.
Yeah, this is probably more a one for me. As far as stress testing goes, there's it's I'm not sure necessarily whether you're coming at this from a software developer or a hardware developer perspective or just curious. It's a very multifaceted problem in terms of stress testing. So, for example, if you're talking about hardware and will the hardware stay together under live use, then yeah, absolutely. I gave one of these boxed up to my 2-year-old to play with for the day, and it was. It was all jokes aside. It comes down to things like following manufacturer recommendations for everything. For example, a USB-C connector, how large are your solder pads, what's your reflow profiles like. Getting all of that dialed in is how you can help ensure the hardware integrity. And then in terms of firmware, it's something that you do. If you're doing it properly, you really should be doing constantly through the development cycle. So when this was very early days and bare bones, and we were setting up our message stacks, I wanted to make sure that the firmware and the architecture that we've created can handle all of that. And yeah, it's running a very powerful, for its size, ARM Cortex M4 processor that handles all of that very, very comfortably, very, very comfortably. So there's plenty of room to grow. In there, and of course, that's not to say that we've thought of everything. Not at all. No device is perfect. Companies are always releasing patch updates and things like that. And to be perfectly honest, this first round of units are very much going to be not so much the hardware. The hardware is pretty dialed in, but in terms of firmware and configuration, is going to be very much in the beta, a stable beta, which isn't to say it's like it's some sort of half-baked product. What it means is that we haven't had the hundreds or the thousands of tests and people and different ways of doing things to test every little configuration, permutation and things like that to just dial everything in. It's almost impossible to do that.
And it also means we'll be adding heaps of stuff as well, like ideas that we just haven't had time to go with yet.
Yeah, or we are going to be really, really keenly listening to your feedback, how we can improve things, features you guys would love to have in there. This is very much even the current firmware, which is quite powerful, is only utilizing like 20% maybe of the sort of the software capabilities that's on board the hardware. So.
Yeah, okay, next question. With MIDI clock, how are you handling start signals? Will a start signal be sent automatically, or can you send the clock, then send the start separately? So when you assign a MIDI clock, it's global. And so that means it's on every bank. So when you change banks, the MIDI clocks will be there. When you assign a MIDI clock to a foot switch, though, and then exit the menu, I believe it's running straight away. It has a start.
That's correct. So if you're familiar with how MIDI clock works, the idea is that the MIDI clock signal, which is it sends 24 of the clock message pulses per quarter note. It's sending that constantly. So every time you see that LED flash, it's sending 24 timed and synchronized MIDI. Well, not it's an asynchronous. Anyway, sorry, timed messages. So the clock is always being generated, being outputted. In terms of the start and stop messages, which I think is more what you're getting at, it will send a start message and be in the start configuration by default when you exit the menu. So you can see when I hold it down, stopped, it will send the stop MIDI clock message, but the clock is still running as per the MIDI clock specification.
Yeah. So when you exit, when you assign a clock, Sam, it sends the start and starts sending the pulses immediately.
It won't start doing that. As soon as you assign it. At the moment, it doesn't start doing that until you exit the menu. Perhaps it makes more sense to as soon as you assign it, so you can sort of error check. But that we'll listen to feedback on that and see what makes sense.
Yeah, and can both independent MIDI clocks be set so that they're synced? For example, one is double.
Yeah, I got that one here. So yeah, good question. Yeah, they definitely can. It's been on my to-do list. It's been a little bit lower priority just in trying to get some of the other stuff done. But yeah, absolutely, that's not overly difficult and is on the roadmap where you can sync one to be a subdivision of the other, so sort of be slaved to another or be completely free running for sure. You know, I think that's really important from a functionality perspective.
Yeah, and so Elliot asked a similar question through YouTube. I think it's pretty close to the same question. Yeah. Okay.
Allow for MIDI clock. Yeah, in fact, most pedals don't necessarily allow for. Sorry, a lot of MIDI clock pedals don't allow for subdivisions. It's very common with tap tempo, but not so much that. But yeah, Dean, you rock on, mate.
Yeah, and Michael asks, do the MIDI clocks have to be assigned to foot switches? At the moment, yes.
Yeah, at the moment they do, because I thought quite a lot about this, and I think it's a bit of a toss-up between creating a really nice user experience. One of our goals and the whole vision behind Pirate MIDI is to take away that sort of confusion layer where there's so much going on behind the scenes that you aren't, can be quite confusing and you aren't really aware of or in control of, and just make everything really streamlined and powerful and easy to use. And part of that was sort of making that MIDI clock functionality front and center. Perhaps, it's certainly possible. Perhaps we might look at adding a user interface element, on the screen, which could display the tempo information, and it could be triggered externally. You can imitate and remotely control a switch with an external foot switch, which I'll show off in a minute. But yeah, it's interesting. I think so. For now, they have to be assigned to a switch, but we can certainly look at what's the best, the best user experience for that, for sure.
Excellent. Well, we better move on. We got no more questions.
No questions. So we were taking a look at the LFO. So I'm going to kind of jump back into that because it's very cool. So on switch 2, I'm going to set up an LFO. Now we had that synced freely. I'll leave it at 1 hertz for now. Doesn't really matter. I'll keep the minimum and max limits. I won't apply any sort of range compression to that. The shape, we've got sine, triangle, sawtooth, ramp. So it will linearly ramp up and then hold that value. Square wave, it's like a pulse, and then random. So we'll go sawtooth. What message stack are we going to send? You could send any of the available message stacks. Put toggle on for now. You've got the modulation source, which is a bit of an in the works function where you can actually then apply amplitude or frequency modulation to that LFO from external sources, which allows like FM MIDI synthesis, which is really neat. Setting that aside, you can reset the clock position when you re-trigger it, or the step, which allows you to get like a sample and hold functionality where it granularizes the steps that the clock takes in binary division. So you can have it in increments of 1 value, 2 values. So it would go from 0 to 2 to 4, so on and so forth, 4 right up to 32. So you can, if I put it on, to demonstrate this, I'll put it on 32. Click save, exit out of that, and so you can see I don't know how well it's going to translate over YouTube and Facebook compression, but that LED there that when we turn the LFO on is stepped. It sort of only has a couple of discrete steps. It's going to have 4 discrete increments, which is that sample and hold kind of granular functionality coming in there. Michael, will we eventually be able to specify an arbitrary waveform from the desktop editor? Yeah, there's no technical limitation as to why not. For sure, they're all things that we would love to be implementing and certainly plan on adding in the editor or even on the device could be really cool. But we'll just look at what's going to be the best way to do that, for sure. Love that idea. That'd be great. I'm going to turn just some of this craziness off. but yeah, that's sort of some of a lot of people are asking about LFOs and MIDI clocks and things like that. So I hope that gives you a brief insight into how you might get hands on and configure your device for that motion kind of side of things. Everything seems really smooth on potato resolution. The internet's just been playing up a ton around here. I'm going to go to still potato, but slightly less potato resolution and see if it's still okay. That looks pretty smooth to me. If there's issues, just let me know. Yeah, so that's sort of MIDI clocks and things like that. What I want to do is take a look at some of the new extended UI side of things. So I'm actually just going to do a quick factory reset again because it's quicker than turning those MIDI clocks off and on again, just because I want a less...
Your camera is frozen again.
Oh, what is going on? Well, back to potato we go. Welcome to Potato Land. 480p 2021. That's just wild. Anyway, I hope you can kind of see what's going on there. Yeah, so I'm just going to do a reset because it's quicker than unassigning those MIDI clocks. Going through and doing it manually.
Still frozen, Sam.
Still frozen?
Not seeing anything on your video stream.
Oh, it's not frozen on my device. That's a pain. Sorry about that. What if we change the camera? It's our first one. First fireside chat. Be nice, okay?
Oh, the network connection says 0 out of 10.
0 out of 10 network connection. I don't think that's a good thing.
No.
Okay.
Just refresh the page on your phone.
Yeah. You'll Control F4, but for mobile.
Alt F4.
What? You don't want Alt F4. Alt F4 closes.
Kill it. I know. You want to kill it, man.
You want to refresh. Just Control F4. Anyway.
What do we got?
Sorry. I'm just going to wait for my phone to resume because until it does, there's no point continuing to show off stuff.
Yeah, well, we could look at the app because that just streams the desktop.
Yeah, totally. Let's take a look. So this app build is very much it's like a kind of running a debug. Oh, hang on. Here we go. Yes. Anyway, while that's sorting itself out. Okay, I think that's coming back there now. Anyway, the app is very much like a developer version at the moment. So there's a lot of like unenabled features while we're focusing on just like fine tuning and looking at different aspects. But let me go to that. Where are we?
It's an excellent shot of the roof in your garage there.
Oh yeah, cool. Okay, well it's on the front camera again. Let's you know what? We'll leave it on the front camera. I want to say hi. Man, this is not a great resolution. Let's have to sort my camera out for next time. Anyway, so let me make sure I'm sharing the app.
How far along are you on device link? Good question.
Well, it's going to show the command line.
So, Michael, Sam has shown me some things. It does work. It's not stable enough to show just yet, but we like the features and that are there. But
it's not so much that it's not stable enough. It's more just that we, like I've had device link running really nicely, but then we've been looking at some other features and things like that, and then I've sort of just disabled some of the functionality to streamline what I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah, semi. Yeah, so not in a show-offable state. It's in a dev state. Yeah, it would take a bit of a few coding hours to make it show-offable, which would you then have to undo to go back to dev state. So we will show that if if we have the demand to do another stream in the next couple of weeks. For sure. But yeah, currently you've kind of got a master and a slave thing. You've got bank syncing, bank name syncing across devices, and MIDI routing, obviously, from one device through to the outputs of the other. So yeah, look forward to that.
All right. I cannot seem to. The stream just isn't going to let me, because it wants to show the command line debugger as well, which is just going to be a bit messy. So what I might do is bring it. Sorry about this, guys. I'm just going to bring this over to the side here. It's a little squishy, isn't it? But, oh well. Oh, this is the worst. Sorry, this is not the worst. Nothing to do with you guys. My computer has been so frustrating lately.
Throw questions while we're all quiet and not saying anything, guys.
All right, here we go. So, I'll kind of hide that there. Alrighty. Let's show off this. My desktop is rather messy, but oh well. There we go. Okay. Let's share that. Can you see my screen? Hey, there we go. So ignore the command prompt utility here. That's part of our debugging enable, so we can see the messages that have been sent and things like that. Hey, Simon, the streaming quality looks really potato on my end. Can you see my screen?
It's pretty bad.
I don't know why it's being so garbage.
Power specs for the Bridge6, 200 milliamps.
Kind of.
Yeah, it's about.
When you're talking about power specs, it's not a cut and dry thing. So the parts that draw the most power, the most current, are the LEDs. So even though LEDs are quite generally power efficient, at full brightness, one of those addressable LEDs can draw around 60 milliamps, for example. And there's 2 per switch. There's 12 LEDs in total. Now, for most colors and things like that and brightness settings, you're going to use a small fraction of that. But typically when I'm on the bench, it's not drawing any more than 150 milliamps. But if you jack the brightness up and you put the LEDs on all white or something like that, it might draw a bit more than that. But yeah, it's really frustrating that resolution is so low. I've tried to make that a little better.
Trying to see whether mine is.
Sorry about this, guys. Such pixels, much 4K. This is actually a very high pixel density display.
Yeah, that's probably
which is funny. Yeah, we have fiber to the node here, so usually our internet's pretty good. Just give me a second. I'm going to see if there's any other internet hogs going around.
I am gonna boot the app up on my device and see if it's any different. Let's go. Is that better or worse? Holy mackerel. Let's not do that. That's insane. Here we go. Right. Is that any better? I can't actually tell. Wow. Whoa. We're so professional, guys. You wouldn't believe it. I have the app. Hey, Sam.
Yeah.
Is my desktop looking any better there?
It's looking
or is it
better than
potato?
Mine was.
Okay. All right. Well, currently we'll go with this. Is it readable?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. So I have my Bridge4 plugged in, and so down the bottom left here, you'll see we have Bridge4. So we'll select that. These buttons here, load and save. Load is loading all the data that's currently on the device into the app. And so that's helpful for if you've made changes when you're on stage or something like that, and you want to save them into your app so that they are backed up. And then save will send any changes that you've made in this particular profile to the device. So if we go back to the profiles here, you can see we can create a new profile for the Bridge6, and then we have a couple of profiles here. So you can have these profiles, name them, that kind of thing. That's what we're up to at the moment. So we'll go into this Bridge4 one, click on a foot switch to edit, and then you can see here we've got add message. So that one adds from the device library. So we're going to mess around with the labels and the UI and stuff, but just in this left box here, this is your message stack for the toggle on message stack. So we'll choose a brand, we'll choose the, we'll go line 6. Oh, ignore that problem. We will go to the HX stomp, and we want to we want looper mode on. And the database, the device library database, does also have the value range in there. We just haven't got that displaying next to this box yet, but we will have the text label that says what the range is for that particular function if it's given in the user manual. So if this is like 127 turns looper mode on, then the value will say 127.
Yeah, so part of why that sort of is like that is in device data sheets, they will say things like, this CC controls the bypass, for example. And, it's like 120. But then you've got different values will do different things. So, say 64 to 127 might turn it on, and anything lower than that might turn it off. And it's different for every device, which is why you can't necessarily autofill the value field, because it doesn't know whether you might want to, what action you want to be taking. But yeah, in the device library, there's a little label that sort of gives you prompts on that are very contextual. So if it's an expression pedal, it'll say, say 0 to 127 and bits and pieces like that.
Yeah, so you can see here I'm adding things from the device library here, engage pedal, and then you can move those around in the list, change the order, delete one, and then adding custom is just any MIDI message. So you've got your control change, program change, channel pressure, pitch bend, delay, which is not a MIDI message, that's a millisecond thing. Do you want to explain what the delay is for, Sam?
Yeah. I just turned my camera off because I don't know, Aaron starts playing up a little bit at the moment. But delay is really neat. It's for those of you guys who've used something like OnSong as well, perhaps, or some other MIDI controllers, it might be familiar. But the idea is that it allows you to insert programmable length delays into the message stream. So when you're sending stacks out, you can think of each output on the board. So you've got 2 Flexi port MIDI outputs, you've got USB, you've got the DIN5 on the Bridge6 or the 3.5 millimeter on the Bridge4. Each one of those will have a stream of outgoing messages. Now, one of those message options is a non-standard MIDI message we've implemented called Midi Delay, and it will block sort of MIDI messages behind it from being sent for a certain length of time. So why this is useful is a lot of devices, in particular, it's a known limitation of devices like a HX Stomp, where they've added more and more firmware features and hardware, but it's still the same processor, so you start running out of processor space, and it can't handle large amounts of MIDI data just flooding into it. So you might want to send a command, say, to change banks or change presets, and that takes time, and it won't respond to presets until it's finished that that function or operation. And so you can say send a message to change presets or change banks, followed by a programmable delay, and then you might send the rest of your messages after that. Hey, Simon Alomar just said Control R to reload the app so you can rename the bank. Sorry, that's just the current
Alomar knows what he's talking about.
bug,
Thank you.
Feature thing.
Good.
In this particular build. But yes, the programmable delay allows you to do really, really neat things like that. You could create some really MIDI stuttering effects as well. But that is selectable from 1 millisecond to something pretty crazy, like a couple of 100 milliseconds if you would like. And that's in 1 millisecond increments, so you get really fine control over that. Hey, Rick, how you doing, mate? 7 p.m. Pacific, an hour in. Yes, it started at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I'm not sure. Oh, I'm streaming my window. Hang on a second. That's very confusing to some people. What's the Pacific time? Anyway, yeah, we did our best at 7:04 Pacific time. We put CDT Central Time up on there. But yeah, no. Does the delay have to occupy a message slot? It does. It occupies a message slot because it has much the same parameters as a particular MIDI message, including the output routing. So yeah, it does take up a MIDI slot. Programmable delay to sync to tap tempo instead of milliseconds. That's not a bad idea. I hadn't actually thought of that. Well, actually, no, I can see the value in creating cool MIDI messages. The thing to note is that you'd want to be careful using that functionality for, purely like an effect purpose. Facebook an hour later for some reason. Oh, that'd be because of daylight savings time nonsense or something like that, maybe. Sorry about that, guys. But welcome. Yeah, you'd want to be careful because it's actually going to block. Fortunately, it is port specific, so it will only block messages on that particular port. So it's a little more intelligent than some other options that are out there. But if you're then trying to send MIDI clock through that output, it's going to block that MIDI clock data as well, because that could cause an external device to crash or malfunction or something like that. So yeah. So thanks for that question, Matt. It's a good option. Put that on our feature list to request. I think Simon put a link into that earlier in the stream, because that's a really neat idea. I'd love to implement that.
All right, I'm coming back.
He's back.
There's not really much else to show in the app at the moment. We've been working on a stable USB connection to the actual device to make sure that it doesn't conflict with any other USB devices. And so we've just had a few features that have been disabled for a while.
Yeah, if you've used, it's like, editor apps for every device with USB has some sort of companion app nowadays. But a lot of the time you'll see on, if you're having an issue or you're trying to troubleshoot something in a forum online, it's like, are there other devices connected to your computer, and, unplug those and try again. And it's a really frustrating issue because, especially in a live context, if you are using a computer, you typically might have other MIDI controllers plugged in, an audio interface perhaps, and unplugging all of those just to make a change isn't really a viable option in a live context or even a studio context for a lot of people. It's really irritating. So we've been spending a lot of time looking at really solid rock stable options, and we've come up with a really nice solution that is almost bulletproof. That it won't just look for the device name, it actually looks for a whole bunch of USB parameters and sort of cross-references them to any connected ports. And the cool thing about the USB on this is it actually is a composite device, so it has a couple of different USB classes. It's a MIDI device, which is the audio class, and it also has a COM port, which is used for the app interaction, and it also opens up the opportunity for, which we've talked about before, but where we plan on opening up our API to control and configure the device, which is what our configuration app uses, to developers. So you could have a Max for Live plugin, for example, which has really tight low-level integration and control over your device, which is really neat. So ensuring that has the capacity for just really stable, bulletproof connections without having to unplug stuff and things like that was really important. So to sort of focus on that and fine-tune that, we disabled most of the other features in the app just so we weren't getting a ton of log data to look through. But Simon's got.
Yeah, let's see what we can do here.
Simon, I'm getting some feedback ringing with your laptop.
Yeah,
mate, you might want to just.
That's what I figured. I really wish it didn't have to do that.
You also are a member of the Potato Pixel clan.
Am I? Just a sec.
That's better.
Oh, okay. It's not great.
That's a Bridge4 board there. You can see Simon's got the white display mount, which was one of our samples that we got in, and I sent it over to him. The final production units are black.
Yeah, so what I thought I'd do, if I can just try and change my audio input on here from that microphone.
So while you're setting,
can you hear me now?
Oh, Simon. Yeah, no, be bad. Hey, Sean. I'm not sure if we said hey there. Good to see you here, mate. Sorry, it sounds like Facebook and whatever else just wigged out the event time. So, that's
it's such a pain.
Sorry, everyone.
I'm just gonna turn that off for a bit.
Dude, that's
no, it's worse. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna kill that.
It's the first time trying it.
I'm gonna do it.
Platform.
Stuff it.
So apologies.
I'm gonna go handheld. Here we go. Okay. Let's. Whoop. How's that?
It's a thing. Yep. Can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah. I'm talking. I'm just trying to make this thing work. So is that camera readable?
Yeah, that's fine. What are you showing off there?
Okay, so I was just going to do a factory reset and go back to the other UI. Here we go. I'll set up my tripod now. Turn this down. Okay. I don't have quite a smooth setup as Sam, but we'll get there. System reset, factory reset. Yes. I can go around this way.
I've got my camera back online too. If you wanted to turn off the extended UI.
Excellent. Well, that may be a better idea because you have a better setup for this. But I've factory reset. We're on the extended UI, and I'm just going to plug in a Flexi port. And it's going to say, oh, set up now, and I will say yes. And so I'm going to select the mode. I'm going to make this a external switch, which I have just here. You can see that one's plugged in there, one of the original samples of the anodized enclosures. And I'll go back out to the menu, and you'll see we've got these three rings here, and when I press a foot switch, it shows us that it's being pressed.
Do you want to show that switch in the shot, Simon? It's a little tricky to see what's going on.
Okay. So if I press a switch, the corresponding button there lights up.
Yeah. I might just maybe clarify what's going on there a little. So part of that sort of display area you can see there is each Flexi port gets its own bit of screen real estate in the extended UI. Sorry about the potato camera quality. And this is something we're still working on and tweaking and playing around with it, but it's really coming together nicely. Where depending on what mode the FlexiPort's configured in, that section will sort of automatically change. So you can see for an external switch, you've got 3 different switch options, and because you don't have dedicated LEDs for those on just a standard passive external switch, you actually get an on-screen indicator of what's happening with the switch, which is a really nice additional user interface element.
Yeah, exactly. So let's plug in to something, the other FlexiPort, which is going to wig out that UI there, but we'll just go in the other FlexiPort here.
Yes, this is really cool. We've been working on this for the last week or so, and just adding some really nice bits and pieces. So in device link, it will show whether a particular port is connected to the network and configured, and different things like that.
So now we have the expression pedal.
Sean did fall asleep on his numpad.
Which is not working on that one. So, oh, Sam, did you say it's not working at the moment on FlexiPort 2?
It's working just fine. Maybe just change. You might not have the latest firmware push that I.
Oh, true.
Maybe just go back to FlexiPort 1. Otherwise,
yeah, I will. I will indeed. It'd be nice when I get an enclosure for this thing. Make it a lot easier.
Oh, shush. I've got several hundred of them here. What do you race? You can just change the FlexiPort mode.
Yeah, I know. I thought that. I'm just in such a testing mode where I just factory reset after everything that I just didn't even think about it.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to go to global FlexiPorts, FlexiPort 1 mode, expression in.
So yeah, this is more of a, you can't see the switches. This is less of a tutorial, more of a show off. Do you want to just zoom out so you can see your expression pedal? Looks a little less abstract.
Oh. 10 held. So I've got my expression pedal here, and as you move it, the graph on the screen follows the position of the expression pedal. So that's really helpful.
Yeah. So you get a very real-time bar graph on that, which is super sick when it's in expression mode. But you also get split bar graphs, so dual bar graphs when you have it connected via an expression doubler.
Yeah,
I mean, you can show that one
on there.
Static, but
yeah.
So if you the commentary coming in here, if you were setting this up with an expression doubler, then you would go, hang on, hold up for Simon, hold up for a sec.
What's up?
Just slow up for a sec. I was just talking through what you're doing there. And
sure.
So if you were, you're using just a regular expression pedal, then you will go into FlexiPorts, and you can choose the FlexiPort you're configuring there. So 1 or 2. So in this case for Simon, it's 1. And then you can choose a whole bunch of, there's different configurations there for using an external switch, things like that. But go into mode, and you can scroll across to the an expression in, which gives you that single graph. And then right next to it is dual expression in, which you would use if you're using an expression doubler. So you can click on that and then go back to the main screen. It gives you split bar graphs there. But it's not going to work because it doesn't have an expression doubler plugged in, but that's the idea. Matt Williams, is there a value readout option for that expression too? Yeah, I played around with it a bit. I guess the idea of that user interface area was not so much to show, numbers and things like that. It's what we were talking about before with the difference between reading something versus having like a graphical option where, perhaps an option to show a numerical value could be nice, but the goal for that was that if you've got a few different expression pedals all connected up, rather than having to move them to see where they're at or try and glance down and you can't easily see the angle that something's set at when you're on stage or even in a studio, you can get a really good, kind of, I guess, approximation of where it's at. Is it all the way up? Is it all the way down? Is it somewhere in the middle? Is it about 3/4? Things like that. That's the idea. But again, we'll play around with things. Perhaps oh, geez, that's so bright. You will not have a problem seeing this outdoors, ladies and gentlemen. perhaps there is that could be a nice option. We'll maybe play around with a few things. I think it'll start getting quite cramped, especially if you have two expression, like the expression double mode connected up. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah. So what we might do, I think, is maybe just move on from that. I'll try and get a very rock solid camera set up. We plan on doing these regularly, guys, until, for the foreseeable future, but at least until these things ship out, because we want you guys to get a really hands-on feel and sense for where things are going, and feel like you can play with the device before you have it in your hands. So I'll make sure I've kind of got that camera sorted out. I thought we had things rock solid, but apparently not. But what I might do is just spend a bit of time talking through what we've been working on and what's on the cards, because look, we've been as frustrated as you have by the fact that we, haven't been able to get these in your hands as soon as we would have liked. It's been really, really frustrating. But what it has allowed us to do is spend some time working on, where we're going next and starting to flesh out follow-up products. Expression, the reason they don't call it a precision. Yeah, you're not wrong. Expression pedals can be funky. But so what I might do is share my screen so I can show you guys some cool stuff, because we've got a number of really exciting things that we're working on. So I'm going to share my sort of modeling window. I use Fusion 360 for a lot of our design. It's not, let me turn those joints off. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's what I'm used to and it's what works well. Sorry, what's
good?
Sorry, Kira's just loading some print paper up. My wife be trying to print stuff. I'm on a live stream at the moment. What's the matter? No, we're not done. Yeah, if you can do that. Thanks. Love you. Sorry about that, guys. Kira's great. She runs a sewing business doing like kids' clothing and things like that, so she works from home as well. I'm just going to bring my front camera back and chat with you guys. There we go. So yeah, we've been working on a lot of different things in the meantime, and because we've had that time, it's been a bit of a nice, silver lining to that. If you're in our group, you will have seen that fairly regularly. We love to post new ideas. And if not, here is one of them. So this is our Bridge 1. This is our Bridge 1. This has been something we've been working on for quite some time. You've got a whole bunch of ports, and we've sort of leaked a few bits and pieces, but this thing is tiny. To give you an idea, so this is a custom enclosure for this. It is 50 millimeters sort of in length, and it is 44 millimeters wide, but it is only 25 millimeters tall. So this is crazy tiny. That is a high contrast OLED screen there. You've got USB-C. You've got a dedicated MIDI output there. You've got one Flexi port. So you can have up to 2 expression pedals, external foot switches, all that goodness. Your DC in, again, can be powered from DC or USB. And then you might see this and say to yourself, that's weird. What's going on there?
It's not a screen, is it?
No, and to you, I would say, well, let's just sort of take this enclosure off and get all naked with the thing under here. And you see this very deliberately grey box, and that is one of my Bridge 1 prototypes. That, my good people,
I told you he does this a lot, and he just flies off to some shelf somewhere.
Is a Bluetooth transceiver. So the Bridge 1 is actually going to have integrated Bluetooth, not just integrated Bluetooth, but it actually has MIDI on board. So we've been partnering with the guys from CME, which we're really excited about. And the Bridge 1, in addition to everything else, has has full WIDI embedded right inside. Now, this is cool for a few reasons. One, you get WIDI sort of for free. Yes, it's a wireless window, so to allow for best possible Bluetooth reception, you need the metal enclosure is basically a Faraday shield, and it will very largely attenuate your wireless signal. So you have gaps. So that's like a flush plastic section to allow your signal in and out. But along with having, WIDI built in, so you can, our goal is to have the configuration app available on mobile as well, and things like that. And obviously you can connect it to other Bluetooth devices with all the goodness we love there. Because it's built in, it actually communicates with the main processor at a much, much higher frequency than standard MIDI, which is what your external WIDI devices allow you to do. And that opens up the possibilities of device link over Bluetooth, because you can stream all of that data without as much latency. It opens up a huge number of really cool and exciting things, which we're really excited for. So the light pipe looks a little bit different because it's a much shallower enclosure. You still get your dual color LED indicators and things like that. Yeah, that's the Bridge one. She's a tiny little thing, and we're very excited. Those are light pipes. They're not buttons on there. They're just some small domed light pipes on there. Michael, good question. So we've got the Bridge one. Now, we're not going to spill the beans on everything today. We've got there's about 5 or 6 projects that we've had in the works over this year, sort of working on in the background. I would say I think 4 of those are going to be coming very soon. But to back up a little bit, to give you a bit of an idea of our timeline, I'm going to take that beanie off. It's getting a bit warm in here. We are, again, we're hoping to ship out some tester units to a couple of guys later this, or sort of middle of this month, maybe as early as next week. Then we're going to be shipping all of you lovely people your Kickstarter backer units, existing pre-orders, and things like that. Then we'll be putting the Bridge 4 and the Bridge 6 in it. Simon, what is that?
No, don't know.
Okay.
Don't stress.
Okay, very loud. We'll be putting the Bridge 4 and Bridge 6 up on our website for pre-order for the next batch. Now, we're hoping to go to regular manufacturing. So what this will be is we'll take stock of all, any sort of feedback from all of you guys, make, those changes and additions in firmware and the config app, and then basically signing up to pre-order on that. If you haven't already secured one, will be, our regular manufacturing of Bridge 4s and Bridge 6s. You'll be the first to get one of those, which is going to be cool. But on top of that, we'll also be opening up for pre-order several devices over a series of weeks leading up to the new year. We don't have a firm manufacturing date for this because we need to hit a minimum number of pre-orders to make it viable. And also it's dependent on, everything going on with the supply chain issues globally, chip shortages and things like that. But I don't foresee, because most of the work has been done with the Bridge 4 and Bridge 6. When we're talking about pre-orders, we're talking about a matter of, single-digit months. So the likely estimation would be, say, 3 months, 2 or 3 months for a pre-order for these devices, because we've got, our entire system where all those processes are up and running now. It's mostly just securing quantities of some of the, the microcontrollers and things like that, and then hit and go. So we've got the Bridge 1. That's very exciting. Stay tuned for that. We've got the, let me just, actually, I don't want to show that yet because...
We should talk about the one that everyone already knows about, the Flexi Hub. Because that's super cool, and I think a lot of people are waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. And it's going to be a pretty powerful piece of gear that I think is going to find its way onto a lot of people's boards and rigs. For those of you who don't know what the Flexi Hub is, it's got 16 3.5mm TRS jacks. It's in an enclosure. I can't remember the length and width, but it's barely thicker than my smartphone case. When it's in the enclosure, it's very cool.
Can you see it?
So yeah, I'm just going full screen. So 4 of those
programming headers.
Yeah, 4 of those are MIDI outs dedicated. 4 of those are MIDI ins. 2 of them are CV and expression inputs, and 2 of them are CV and expression outputs, which is super awesome. And one of them is a TRS relay switch. So there's 2 relays there that you can control a couple of amp channels and that kind of thing. And then there are 3 flexi ports as well.
Before we move off the relays as well, what that means with TRS is you actually get 2 relay switches for the price of 1, in a sense, in that it's not just you switch like a mono cable. You actually get independent relay switching of the tip and the ring as well. So you could use a splitter to control 2 different like TS channel amps, or if you have an amp or another device that uses a TRS foot switch, then you can fully control that as well. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, this is the board here with all those jacks. Again, ignore those wires. They're sort of just programming headers and things like that. But we've had this in prototype for a while. We've just been waiting for the supply chain situation to stabilize a bit, but that is also going to be coming very soon to you guys. We've managed to kind of work out most of the kinks in that. So it's pretty cool.
Mostly due to the microcontroller stuff, right?
Yeah.
One of the shortages.
One of the really neat things about this is it runs what I'm sort of calling the filter and transform engine. And what that means is you've got all of these different ports. You've got raw MIDI, you've got expression pedals, you've got control voltages, you've got external foot switches, the works. What the filter and transform engine allows you to do is you have like a matrix of inputs and outputs. So an input might be a MIDI input, and then an output might be a control voltage. And on your input, you can, for your MIDI input, you can assign MIDI triggers, you can do all sorts of things like that. And then you can route it to any of the other output ports in whatever way you like. So, for example, when this MIDI input receives, CC 100, for example, send this control voltage to this expression pedal output. And you can do that for every combination of inputs and outputs all simultaneously. We will be integrating built-in WIDI onto the Flexi port as well. So obviously it doesn't have a screen or things like that. So depending on how our timeline goes, we'd love to get the mobile app, sort of out there for that. There's a couple of other sneaky little things that we'll keep under wraps for now. But we missed a couple of questions. Here's Simon. So Elliot, if you're working on an audio loop switcher, would love to hear about it. That's my guess based on your recent pic you posted. Well, Elliot, my good fellow there, you would be correct in that this circuit board I'm holding is our relay prototype. You can see some early screenshots and renders in the group, but this is a 12-channel relay bypass looper in the size of next to nothing, holding it up to a phone case. The enclosure X, length and width is about that size, and then it's about, yay high. And they're actually TRS jacks. So this means you get 12 mono channels of relay bypassing, or 6 fully stereo channels of bypass looping, 6.35 millimeters, so 1/4-inch jacks, full-size jacks. You get MIDI in and then a MIDI out / through. So you can have a crazy number of channels. But after all of that, you also get a MIDI controllable programmable boost or attenuator. So you can actually dial in a clean boost running on very, very high voltage rails to avoid any clipping that are generated on the board just from a 9-volt input or USB. From 9 volts. And you can control a stereo clean boost with independent sort of balancing for left and right, and either attenuate or boost up to, I think, like 24 dB, should you desire. So it is crazy. This thing is super.
Yeah.
stay tuned for that.
Yeah, so we had a question there about Flexi Hub integrating with the Bridge6 and Bridge4. It's conceptual at this point, but do you want to talk us through your ideas of device link and a Flexi Hub and a foot controller?
Yeah, for sure. So device link was something that we came up with a while ago, and it was how with our Flexi ports, our vision isn't just to have devices communicating via MIDI where we'll use MIDI, but you have to set it up and configure everything. The idea behind device link is you can connect any Pirate MIDI devices up with just a single TRS cable, and they will automatically configure, communicate about what type of device they are, and then you get really high-speed bi-directional communication with them. So the idea behind a FlexiPort is you've got a crazy amount of data and different signals coming in. You connect one TRS cable up from this to your Bridge6, then all of that data and information can get piped together by high-speed MIDI. Oh, hang on. Mute that microphone. Yeah. Oh, now I think you muted me there, Simon.
All good.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yep. Sorry about that. You get all of that information via a high-speed connection to your Bridge6. So then your Bridge6 has, each FlexiPort can do, you get another 4 expression pedals, let's say, another 4 MIDI ins, another 4 MIDI outs, control voltages, expression pedal outputs, relay switching, maybe another Bluetooth, another USB host connected to it. All that stuff is super crazy. But yeah, that's gonna be really exciting. So stay tuned for that. But the idea is it will really seamlessly integrate and be a really nice experience.
Yeah. Before we move on, follow up from the looper. We should probably clarify this one here about the signal routing. Yeah. So the way the routing works, I'll just give you an overview at the moment so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. So you have 12 you have 6 input jacks and 6 output jacks, and they're TRS, which means you can do stereo. And there's independent left and right switching available there, so you can configure it to operate in mono mode, which is 12 individual loops that you can control. Now, because they're TRS jacks, you can run mono up to a certain point and then stereo. But if you run stereo first and then mono, you're going to get the cancellation of one side of your signal. So it's a little bit too hard to explain here when we've got up and running. But as far as like parallel routing options and things like that, you can't easily and economically do it, but it costs an obnoxious amount of money. You can't easily do things like parallel routing with like a relay bypass looper configuration. We've had in the works and in discussion for quite some time about we'd love to offer a more simple relay bypass looper like we've just talked about, and then also offer a matrix style looper where you can switch the effect orders, do parallel and series routing and really cool things like that. It's a much more complex device to design. It's been in design for a while, but it relies on a lot more different chips and things like that, and the supply chain is a lot more complex for that. So in the current climate, it is very difficult to try and go to manufacturing with that. So it's the sort of thing where I think we'll sit on it for a little bit and just continue to design and iterate and really make this thing just beautiful. And then if we can guarantee a bit of stability and the availability for it, then we'd look at launching that. Yeah, great. Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, hang on. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so I can bring something else up that is exciting. Because we've got along with the Bridge 1, we've got 2 new additions to the metal box with foot switches on top family.
Yeah. Very
highly technical terminology there. All right, let me now share this with y'all. So we have here something we teased about in our group a little while ago. Ignore, there's no screen models in there, but that's where the screens are. We have a Bridge4 Slim. Now this guy is super cool because it's like a single row MIDI controller. Now you get all of the power of a Bridge4, which is, you know, all the power of a Bridge6 in a 4-foot switch format, in this really skinny, you know, single row form factor to put underneath something like a Stomp or your large big box devices. And you actually get 3 displays across here to show a ton of information on. So super cool. You still get 2 Flexi ports, your MIDI in, your MIDI out, USB-C, DC input, all that goodness. You beautiful, you know, your dual light pipes for the LEDs there. It's been a lot of fun to design them. That is going to be coming really soon as well. Stay tuned.
Yeah, because that doesn't need anywhere near as much development time.
Yeah,
it's a Bridge4 with a different enclosure and a different screen layout.
Take your Bridge4, you squish it down, you get a Bridge4 Slim. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Yep. Poetry in motion.
Yeah. So things like those injection molded parts are all the same. So it's just the enclosure, testing PCB layout, and that's pretty much it. Adjust the firmware for those 3 screens.
Yeah, and to create part of, you know, something you might not necessarily realize is to create the form factor for our bridge devices has required a lot of injection molding, and injection molding plastic is really expensive and it takes a lot of time, you know, typically to get a mold done. So for something like a light pipe, we have a taller version and a shorter version to match the slanted geometry of our enclosures. And we've, you know, done several iterations of these. You have to get a mold made, you know, which costs thousands and thousands of dollars. Then you have to get your sample runs done. You have to, it's a very complex process getting injection molding tooling done. And
I think the file iterations on the light pipes got up to like version 55 or something.
Oh yeah, but that's nothing. Some version iterations, hundreds.
It's
pretty crazy files between the manufacturer. And then we've also got our display brackets, which just perfectly mount those displays on that slanted enclosure, which is really, really nice. So the beauty is that the Bridge4 doesn't require any new custom hardware. It's using this, you know,
except the enclosure, but
yeah, apart from the enclosure, but
that's
not injection molding.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, you get. So that's going to allow us to get that out really soon. Same with the Bridge1. There's no custom injection molding on that, which is really nice. But let me show off the last little thing I've been working on. The last little thing.
One of the last little things for today, not the last thing that we've been working on.
It's not the last thing I'm working on.
Let's make that very clear. Sam comes up with a new idea every week, and I go, "Oh man, just finish the Bridge6 for me, would you?"
Whoa, easy there, Tiger. I'm finishing the Bridge6.
I'm joking.
I've got to have something to do while we're waiting on chips. So
he has it. Yeah, exactly. He has a lot of ideas while we're waiting for parcels to arrive. It's fantastic. It's not a bad thing.
All right. This here is something that we denied about doing for quite some time. We, you know, you're talking about external foot switches, and you can buy an external foot switch, you know, in a metal enclosure with usually they're just the run-of-the-mill die-cast aluminium enclosures that you can get, you know, for not very much. And you drill some holes in it, you put some graphics on it, you put some switches in it and a 1/4-inch jack, and you call it a day, and away you go. A couple of diodes internally. And we didn't want to enter that space and do our own because there's no point. We can't really offer any value on 3 switches in a metal box. It's been done, they're cheap, they're available. And so we sort of shied away from that. And then I actually thought a bit more about it. And what I wanted to do was do our own take on like an external auxiliary foot switch, but with some secret sauce. And that secret sauce is, it's actually a MIDI controller too. You might notice this little 3-dot layout very similar to the user interface on the Bridge that Simon showed off with his external foot switch, and that's because it is. This is a powered, I'm just showing the enclosure here so I don't give too much away. I can even show the PCB here too. But this is a very cool little device here. You can use it in a couple of different modes. One, it can be unpowered and just be an auxiliary foot switch. The LEDs won't light up, obviously, but it will just plug in to your devices and be a really nice, like very perfectly spaced, slanted enclosure too. So, really, really nice there. External foot switch. Or you just power it via USB or a barrel jack input, and you get LEDs on there as well in real time showing foot switch behavior and things like that.
Even when it's just acting as a generic external foot switch on any other device. Yeah, exactly.
But it also has a small brain in there, a microcontroller, and some of our Bridge architecture, so that you get USB-C, you get a dedicated MIDI output along with the the auxiliary switch output. So this, while not having the same power and flexibility as a Bridge controller, you get a MIDI controller with some message stacks on there, USB-C, all that good stuff. And that's for this device where we're really hoping to hit that kind of sub $100 mark. So if you need just a simple, cheap and cheerful MIDI controller to do a couple of things, like maybe a MIDI clock and some bank up and down, you can do that. That might be a great option for you. Or you want it can be an auxiliary switch at the same time as a MIDI controller, so you could have it being an aux switch for a non-MIDI device, and then also sending MIDI data to your other MIDI devices via the MIDI output. It will work with our configuration app. This is super exciting, and it's going to be awesome. It's really low profile too. It's only at the tallest point of the enclosure, about 32 millimeters tall. So it's really compact, really nice. Can sit perfectly in front of your Bridge device. So, bam, you've got more switches, light pipes, away you go.
Sweet.
I'm excited about it, and I'm sick of pretending I'm not.
Yeah, all right. Well, I've got one last thing to show, and that is the, the user manual, just quickly, and I think that can be it for today. What do you reckon?
Yeah, we're going at this for almost 2 hours. It's great. If you guys have any other questions, get them in now. Doesn't have to be about, the Bridge in particular. It can be about really most things, but send them through while Simon's bringing this up.
All right. Sharing a Chrome tab. Okay, I'm just going to make this full screen for a bit. And here we have the Bridge6 user manual so far. We have section 1, unboxing. So the idea is that each of these sections down on the left, some of them are folders which have subsections, but each section will have its own companion YouTube video, which will pretty much cover the exact same content to a T. That's my plan, so that they're direct parallels. So yeah, you've got your things that you're supposed to get in the box, and then we start with a simple what is on this device, your port layout, a simple what they can do before you dive in, just so you understand the names and the features of each part. Some basic navigation is the next part, how you power it on, and then how you can actually get to the menus, bank up and down, that kind of thing. So you can see here we've got these GIFs that I've made just to make it really clear for how to do stuff. It's kind of a halfway point between people who prefer reading, but also, how when you watch a YouTube video, sometimes it's much more helpful to just see it happen. So that's hoping to bridge that gap a little bit and make the reading of it a little bit more helpful, just a little bit clearer. So this one over here shows you how to get into the menu and that kind of thing. Second screen settings.
It also
Yeah,
looks,
so it's
it
just
looks
some
very
basic-
crisp in person. It's a bit of pixelation from the stream.
Yeah, so
The animations are gorgeous.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have this out for you to look at in the next month before your things arrive. So yeah, you have these folders, an overview of all the connectors, and here's where we start to run out of where I've actually fully written everything out. So the Flexi ports have 7 modes, I think that's correct. Some of the labels have changed. So the reason we don't want to release it right now is because if we change names of stuff, you'll be looking for things that don't exist when your pedal comes. So we just want to make sure everything's correct before we send it on to you. But yeah, we're hoping to get that all sorted. The Bridge6 itself can be controlled from external MIDI messages, like from a DAW or from another MIDI controller or from your Helix, etc., etc. So that's what this chart will be for. Numbers subject to change, obviously. And then at the end I've written this massive document that's just like it's basically a glossary, I suppose. It's a description of what every single menu item does and all their sub-menu items. So under switches, you have LFO, messages, switch name, DRS out, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, if you're looking for a menu item, that can help you find it. So yeah, well, thanks, Elliot. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, we just wanted to make it super easy to navigate, find what you're after, and really specific. I hate user manuals that are too short and leave stuff out. So yeah, we'll leave it at that for now.
Before you leave it at that for now, I'm just gonna guilty pleasure answer Elliot's question because it speaks to my soul. Elliot, any recommendations for interfacing with Fusion 360 models other than standard mouse or keyboard? This is not like a Pirate MIDI Bridge question. This is just a design tool software
engineer question.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. We're kind of done with Pirate.
I bought a 3D mouse when I was 15 years old. That was pretty cool. I wish I'd never sold it because it was like $500.
Sick.
That was pretty cool.
Fusion 360, yeah, I actually really like the mouse and keyboard approach with it. I have kind of gotten used to it. And I don't know whether that's because I've just forced, it's become muscle memory and I've forced myself to use it that way or not. So I was a long time Eagle user when I was just, building hobby projects, selling designing effects, selling at small commercial quantities and things like that. And I played a bit with KiCad, flirted with the idea of moving to Altium, but it's so expensive, and we're a startup. And I've been playing around with the Fusion 360 PCB electronic design. As much reason for anything as it just saves time on rendering 3D PCB models. It's almost real time to just switch to a 3D render, which is cool. But it does have its limitations. I'm sort of umming and ahhing about it a bit at the moment if we want to move in that direction. They kind of klutzed the takeover and transition from Eagle to Fusion PCB, in my opinion. It could have been done way better. But in terms of the navigation, I don't know. I see people get the fancy, trackball mice and bits and pieces like that. I do a lot of 3D modeling and 3D design, but it's all the same style. It's, for our products and some other, another company I'm working on where it's an enclosure with electronics in it, and the enclosures are usually either die cast or like an off-the-shelf plastic enclosure, but in our case, folded sheet metal enclosures. And honestly, the keyboard and mouse does it for me. I'm thinking of just as a bit of a project, printing a custom Stream Deck type thing with some screens, but customized for Fusion shortcuts and standard trace width on PCBs and orbital commands and things like that. But I don't know, it works for me. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's kind of about it. I hope that answered your question, Elliot. If you have questions, by the way, about kind of more off topic stuff like that, just shoot me a message. I love chatting about things like that with people. So yeah, that will just about do us, I think.
Yeah. I think we're 10 minutes away from hitting 2 hours. So, yeah, thanks everyone for tuning. It was really good to be able to answer questions, be able to explain what's been going on a bit more. I hope you understand what's been happening and that we're this close. We're this close. We just got to wait for these PCBs to arrive. And if by some miracle New South Wales decide to open their borders, I won't probably go up there because I might be stuck there.
It is
semi-permanently.
We were hoping. It is not happening. There's a big vaccine shortage in Australia, and so it's been a very controversial sort of thing for quite some time, and has slowed the vaccination rollout, along with it's sort of worse than most other places issue with like misinformation. And this is a very controversial topic. I'm not saying we're anti or pro-vax or anything like that, but just to say that the Delta variant in particular has been just rampaging and causing chaos in the state where I live, New South Wales, and we're now in like week 6 of lockdown, hard lockdown. Guys in Melbourne and Sydney have been doing a bit tougher than us, in fact, but there's no way Simon's coming up from Tasmania, which is its own little island country that you sort of forget about sometimes.
Well, we forget about you because we don't have any COVID restrictions. So it's pretty nice some days.
That's fair enough. But yeah, so I am gonna rope my wifey into assembling things. Might resemble more of your like early 70s and 80s electronics assembly lines a bit, but that's kind of the plan. So keep you guys posted. If you're not in our Facebook user group, jump in there. We're super active on there. We've got some absolute MIDI wizards and gurus. Got any questions, shoot us a message. Apart from that, we hope to do another one of these either next week or in 2 weeks' time with some more updates, some more in-depth stuff about that. So we'll see how we go. Thank you for our first fireside chat. No fire because it's almost spring. It's spring here. It's hot.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye.